wealth is an illusion of mass. For millennia, empires hoarded heavy metals to project invincibility. Gold's physical density anchored the psychology of global trade. Yet, the heaviest fortress is vulnerable to invisible inflation. A mere 31,000 lines of code engineered an asset harder than bullion. We measure true economic power by what resists duplication. By translating thermodynamic energy into digital scarcity, mathematics forged an indestructible monument to human time. Matter yields to algorithmic monetary policy. Let us examine the anatomy of this invisible fortress. How does pure data command the gravity of gold? We must descend into the architecture of the protocol. Ledgers trace the blood of empires. Ancient clay tablets recorded the first agricultural grain debts. Physical gold coins reliably settled the expanding trade balances. Paper bank receipts eventually abstracted the heavy metal away. Modern digital databases centralized this human trust almost completely. We traded the unforgeable reality of chemistry for the fragility of central administration. The double spend paradox required a decentralized network to agree on a single history without centralized rulers. Thermodynamic energy cannot simply be faked. To create a digital hard asset requires mathematical sacrifice. Proof of work operates like a relentless blast furnace. Computing machines endlessly hash data searching for valid blocks. They consume massive amounts of real-world global electricity. This expenditure of joules creates an invisible but impenetrable cryptographic wall around the shared ledger. Raw thermodynamic power is transmuted directly into an unalterable chronological record of human financial truth. We must examine the hash rate. Millions of specialized machines guess random alphanumeric strings continually. They are searching for an exceedingly rare mathematical output. It is digital prospecting across an infinite mathematical landscape. Finding the correct nonce requires trillions of blind attempts. Just as crushing quartz yields precious gold, immense computation yields verifiable economic truth.
Stabilizing the sequence.
This intentional algorithmic inefficiency is the vital mechanism that prevents malicious actors from rewriting financial pasts. Observe the algorithmic difficulty adjustment cycle. This is the most crucial gear in the machine. If physical gold spikes in value, miners overproduce it. A sudden influx of metal crashes the global price. Nature cannot dynamically adjust the rarity of the earth. The protocol automatically recalibrates the hashing difficulty precisely every 2016 transaction blocks. This self-regulating feedback loop ensures no amount of industrial energy can accelerate the fixed issuance schedule. More power simply increases the security. When immense capital deploys new mining rigs worldwide constantly, the algorithm responds by making the puzzle exponentially harder. The 10-minute block interval remains a stubborn constant. Time itself is rigidly enforced by the distributed software. Unlike any physical commodity, greater extraction effort yields absolutely no extra aggregate supply for the market. Yet we witness the unprecedented separation of the monetary production rate from the application of human labor. Blocks link together like iron chains. Each newly mined block contains the previous block's hash. This creates an unbreakable cryptographic sequence of temporal events. To alter a past transaction requires rewriting all history. The energetic cost to attack the chain becomes astronomical. The ledger essentially buries older transactions beneath an ever-growing mountain of mathematically proven thermodynamic labor. This cumulative energy barrier effectively creates an impenetrable digital amber, locking economic history in perpetual stasis. Let us track a single coin. It is born when a miner solves the puzzle. The protocol grants a strictly defined block subsidy reward. When this newly minted asset enters the global circulatory system, it transfers across the globe at blinding optical speeds. It lacks physical mass. yet it carries the heavy economic weight of its energetic creation. We are observing the dawn of a synthetic standard where energy validates truth without human bias. Miners act as the network's auditors. They verify every transaction against the rigid consensus rules. Any fraudulent signature is immediately rejected by the nodes. There are no bailouts within this austere mathematical ecosystem. The code executes with the cold indifference of physics. This absolute predictability strips monetary policy from the unpredictable whims of central bankers and politicians. The system replaces the subjective interpretations of human governance with the objective finality of cryptographic proofs. The decentralized nodes maintain the balance. Tens of thousands of sovereign computers verify the ledger. They audit the heavy cryptographic work submitted by miners. No central authority can ever hijack the strict rules. It is a globally distributed fortress of verifiable truth. This deliberate separation of power between miners and nodes creates a perfect and trustless equilibrium. This adversarial architecture guarantees that the underlying asset cannot be debased by any solitary commanding authority. Every 10 minutes, truth is finalized. The heartbeat of the network pulses with predictable rhythm. A new page of the ledger is permanently inscribed, and global value settles without relying on traditional correspondent banks. The infrastructure operates continuously through holidays and financial crises. This unyielding mechanical cadence establishes a highly resilient foundational layer for modern international capital flows. By grounding monetary transmission in physics and mathematics, the protocol transcends the geopolitical boundaries of states. Think of the energy as armor. Critics often point to the massive electrical consumption involved. They misinterpret the necessity of this vast energetic cost. It is not waste, but an impenetrable security budget. The power draw directly correlates to the network's invulnerability. Without this massive energy expenditure, digital scarcity would become utterly meaningless and entirely fragile. The continuous conversion of raw electricity into hash rate is the essential mechanism that secures value. We return to the material reality. Gold required men to dig deep into the earth. It demanded dangerous physical labor and extensive logistical supply. The modern digital asset requires server farms and silicon. It demands advanced semiconductor foundries and vast power grids. The extraction process evolved from moving dirt to organizing complex structures of digital information. Material economics thus transitions from the control of heavy metals to the mastery of applied thermodynamics. Scarcity forces a violent paradigm shift. Every historical currency eventually succumbed to the printing press. Rome diluted the denarius with base metals over centuries, and Weimar Germany hyperinflated their paper marks into absolute worthlessness. Modern central banks expand the fiat supply almost continuously. The human temptation to create free purchasing power always destroys the underlying asset. Satoshi Nakamoto engineered a hard cap of 21 million units to permanently sever money from state control. Halvings compress the global issuance rate. Every 4 years, the block reward suddenly drops mathematically. The supply curve bends asymptotically toward the absolute limit. No central committee debates the merits of this reduction. This deterministic monetary policy creates a perfect economic vacuum that absorbs excess global liquidity. As the flow of new supply plummets, the existing units mathematically capture an exponential share of value. This strips the sovereign inflationary power. Governments rely on debasement to quietly fund their deficits. Inflation acts as an invisible tax on the working populace. The digital asset offers an escape from this confiscation. It is a lifeboat built from pure cryptographic mathematics. When wealth flees the decaying fiat system, it finds refuge in an unalterable thermodynamic fortress. For the first time in human history, citizens can opt out of sovereign economic mismanagement entirely. The 21 million cap is absolute. You cannot lobby the algorithm to print more coins. You cannot mine asteroids to artificially inflate the supply. The final fraction will be mined near the year 2140. This terminal constraint transforms the digital asset into the ultimate measuring stick for global value. By translating the labor theory of value into programmed scarcity, the ledger becomes an immortal monument. The code enforces a thermodynamic limit. Every node validates this terminal reality every 10 minutes. To breach the cap requires global consensus to fail. Rational actors will never vote to dilute their own wealth. The game theory secures the fixed supply against corruption. This incorruptible mathematical threshold permanently alters the balance of power between individual capital and the state. The realization of programmed absolute scarcity represents the climax of our long search for perfect money. Mathematical certainty replaces human trust. The physical constraints of the earth are now obsolete. We have successfully digitized the heavy burden of gold. The ledger requires no vaults or armed military guards. A decentralized network of nodes enforces the strictest monetary policy in human history. We have transitioned from trusting the geopolitical whims of empires to verifying the immutable laws of cryptography. Energy grounds the synthetic standard. Modern fiat currencies float aimlessly on political promises alone. They lack any physical anchor to the tangible world. Digital hard assets tether their true value to thermodynamics. Every confirmed block represents a permanent and verifiable expenditure of raw electrical power. This unforgeable costliness is the exact mechanism that prevents the arbitrary dilution of your stored labor. The legacy of value evolves. Roman emperors melted their silver to fund failing legions. Modern bureaucrats print trillions to mask deep structural decay. The algorithmic ledger offers an immediate exit from this cycle. For the first generation in history, individuals hold an asset perfectly resistant to debasement. We are witnessing the final separation of money and state through the power of programmed mathematics. History is written in hashes. The story of material economics reaches a fascinating frontier. We no longer search the physical earth for infinite wealth. We project our economic energy into an indestructible network. The hardest asset ever created by humanity weighs absolutely nothing and exists entirely everywhere. By translating the labor theory of value into pure data, we have achieved true financial permanence. Matter bows to the algorithm. Future generations will study this profound macroeconomic turning point. The transition from physical heavy metals to pure digital scarcity. Our material history culminates in a brilliant masterstroke of cryptography. We have finally engineered a global monetary foundation that simply cannot be corrupted by human greed. The relentless march of material economics ultimately leads us to a secure fortress built of mathematics.